European trip that we still talk about. Stories of flooded airports, lost luggage, missed planes, meeting Christians in hiding in East Berlin, sitting up late at night talking with a lonely innkeeper who missed her children in the States, enjoying local cuisine, and taking train rides through miles and miles of beautiful countryside. When my husband Ray and I married, we planned and saved for as many trips as a young couple could possibly make on a limited budget. We looked forward to every journey and appreciated the chance to simply see interesting places and learn new things. We visited most of the Southeast and Midwest by driving from our home in Memphis. Then, as our budget improved, we also found ways to experience some other spectacular locations: skiing the Canadian Rockies, hiking in Kauai, deep-sea fishing in Cabo San Lucas. Somewhere along the way, however, I stopped counting license plates, and the journey lost its joy. The demands of parenting, building a career, and entrepreneurship began to take their toll. My approach to business and life became almost singularly focused on the destination. As the pressure increased and the stakes grew higher, my intensity and determination to succeed only escalated. Several of my good friends and family members finally called me on this and encouraged me to take a long overdue vacation. Get some time away, they said. Spend time alone with your husband. Reconnect with him and with life. Find a little balance. So I began dreaming of going back to Europe. And that's how Ray and I ended up at the Dallas airport, headed for Zurich. The trip itself was a compromise. Ray had never been to Europe and had very little interest in going, at least in the way I had envisioned, seeing as many famous cities, museums, and monuments as possible, and collecting as many passport stamps as we could cram in. Once again, a destination philosophy. I challenged myself to find a solution. What if we toured Europe on a motorcycle? I suggested. Now I had his attention. Ray had long loved fast cars and motorcycles, so this idea appealed to him, and soon the deal was sealed. I just had to muster up the courage to do something I'd never done before: get on a motorcycle. Ray already was an experienced rider. He had owned and ridden a number of bikes. At last count, we have 2 BMWs, a Kawasaki, and a throwback Ducati in the garage. I, too, loved speed and enjoyed the thrill of sitting behind the wheel of a sports car every now and then. But that was on 4 wheels. Riding through Europe's tallest mountains on 2 wheels was something altogether different. The idea of it generated something inside me that I'd come to know well as a CEO: fear. The thought of crashing was certainly there, but more than that was the very real fear of giving up control. As we rode along the steep and curvy highways, I would be on the back of Ray's bike, holding on to him while letting go of my need to get us to the next there. There was also the far more hidden fear of coming to grips with what I was missing in my life. In the maddening pursuit of success, I knew I had been cheating myself and others out of the one thing we can never get back: time. I'd been stealing time from them and giving it to my company: time with my kids, time with my husband, time with myself to pursue even the first personal interest or hobby. Every bit of spare time I had was going toward the big dream, and precious little of it was going toward things that were far more important. Have you ever experienced this as well? I wouldn't be surprised if it hits a little too close to home. Developing a nearly single-minded focus on success is a pretty common problem, unfortunately, with a fairly predictable outcome. So I suppose we shouldn't be surprised when everything and everyone else suffers. The fear of the price I might have to pay or was already paying for operating in overdrive was real, but I certainly didn't want to face it. Facing my fears, however, had always been an integral part of my leadership style, a key reason, I believe, why I'd been able to find success in business and in life. So I began to believe this trip might give me the opportunity, or perhaps even force me, to begin thinking.